Good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube table enabled Hilchos Beis HaKnesses Simin Kuf Nun Dalet 154. A great share for you today. This is the penultimate halacha of Hilchos Beis HaKnesses. Short set of halachos, but the simanim are not short. So there's 15 halachas today. Yesterday we had 22. Today's 15. Let's get started. Aleph for Chava Shalir Alf Pishim Espalan Ba Batanios Ema Mishum Kedusha. We talked about Kedushas Beis HaKnesses, which really stems from Kedushas HaTorah. I want to talk about this more in Ian Talina on Kedushas HaTorah. It all stems from the Sefer Torah, which is the most kadosh thing. Beis HaKnesses is a place where you have a Sefer Torah, so it has a certain amount of Kedusha. You read the Sefer Torah over there. Not the Sefer Torah, so it has the least amount of Kedusha, but a street where you daven in once in a while, that doesn't have Kedusha. A porch minyan, a yard people daven, it's not Mishi Arai, it's temporary. Now, if there's a set minyan there, I would say even if on Shabbos, once a week you daven over there, it gives it the Kedusha Beis HaKnesses. You need a place to minyan, an impromptu minyan. You're at a ball game, you go to one of the corridors of the stadium to go daven. That doesn't make it a Beis HaKnesses. Perish derech mikra is damilo derech kfiyas. There's no Kedusha at all. It doesn't have Beis HaKnesses. You need kaviyas. You need something to be established there on a permanent fashion, some sort of permanent fashion, to attain the status of Beis HaKnesses. Beis HaSofrim buys and Svalimbo, Ein Lo Din Beis HaKnesses. Here, even if you use it b'kaviyas, you rent a room, you rent a building to daven there, and you plan on building a shul, right? So since at the end of the lease, you're not in control anymore. The person can terminate the lease. He can say, "I'm not renting it to you again." So therefore, even if you daven there b'kaviyas for a year, for 2 years, it doesn't have Kedusha Beis HaKnesses, which is very important to know. This happens very often. Gimel Tashmisha Kedusha. Kigon Tikshel Svarim Mezuzos. The Gemara Megillah differentiates between Tashmisha Kedusha, Tashmisha Mitzvah, things you use for a mitzvah, lulav, a sukkah, a shofar. Those things are used to perform mitzvahs. Tashmisha Kedusha are things you use for Kriyas HaTorah, for the Sefer Torah, and to accompany the Sefer Torah. So a Tikshel Svarim, you have a mantle which covers the Sefer Torah, or Mezuzos. Right, the mezuzos is the parshios, and the mezuzos you put in a encasing around it. Or tefillin, the strap to your tefillin, right? The argish nosen bo sefer Torah or chomesh, the aron hakodesh, the kiseh nosen lav sefer Torah. The kiseh referring to the table, the shulchan on the bima that you place the sefer Torah on. Vilon shall tol in the heichal the paroches, as long as we'll see there's no door, wooden door between the paroches and the sefer Torah. Yesh man kedusha. These things are called tashmisha kedusha. They service something which is kedusha, which is the sefer Torah. V'sarach leganzan. They have tashmisha kedusha have the same din as kedusha itself, and they need geniza. They need to put them. The only way of disposing of them is burying them in the earth. You have to treat them with the ultimate respect. Tashmisha mitzvah nizrak, and you can throw them in the garbage. You can't step on them, according to the Allah, to the Ramah. You can't step on them. You can't mavazet them, but you could throw them in the garbage. However, these things you can't just throw in the garbage. It has to be zayon. It's disrespectful. You have to treat it with more kedusha. Haga v'dafka davar shemanichan v'hen davar shekdusha b'atzmo lefamim. Oshenas l'kavod. It has to be something that you actually put the sefer Torah in, or it's made to honor it. You go on a mixer shal akroshim shal svarim, right? Which is the mantle which you put on the actual wooden, handles of the sefer Torah. But also mixer shuli shmoro. So mixer shal akroshim lo mikre tashmish. Just say you have a bag that you put mantles in. So that's a tashmish to tashmish. How we tashmish? That's 2 steps removed. That does not attain kedusha. Anything similar to this? It's only called aron if you put the exclusively the sefer Torah there. If it was built in the walls, nasul shmira, you watch other things there. You put your money there. So that's what it's mainly made for. Lo mikri tashmish kedusha. It goes what the main function. If the main function was built for Sefer Torah, then it's Tashmisha Kedusha. If it was mainly built to save your gold, your bars of gold, and your money, no. Also getting Masfar Miskalkalin Bo, the Mutal Itlan Misham. Certainly, if the Svarim are getting ruined over there, right? You can take them out of there, and you can destroy the place. Because again, you can destroy this aron and you don't have to put it in geniza because again, it is primarily used to store your money. Also, because one of the halachas of Tashmisha Kedusha, we'll see, and again, Talina is different than Kedusha is based on Mikdash. It makes a distinction between Kedusha's Hekdesh or based on Mikdash, even Kedusha's Damim of Bedek Abayis to keep the basic Kedusha around. And even though we consider our basic Knesset and Mikdash Ma'at, there's a very big difference in basic Knesset and based on Mikdash. We'll talk about that in the Talina. And so you have to treat the Kedusha here, Kedusha Sefer Torah, it's a din of respect, not a din of Kedusha being used for benefit of the Beis HaMikdash to enjoy. That's a different type of Kedusha. So here it's about respect. So you can't wash it with urine or anything that's disgusting because you're not treating it with respect. Daled, mitpachos Sefer Torah balu. Let's say you had a mantle that covered the Sefer Torah. It got worn out. You can't use it anymore. If you have a mace mitzvah, not just a regular person who has burial, people would bury. A mace mitzvah has more kedusha because there's no one to bury him, and everyone's mitzvah. It's a mitzvah on the seaboard to bury him. So therefore, you can bury him in the mantle in these worn out tachrichim, and it's geniza because you're storing it in the ground, so it's not considered a bizayon. Hey, Sefer Torah Shabbalah. Manichan also b'kli cheres. The Sefer Torah that got worn out. Sometimes it happens after 100 years or something like that. It got worn out. You put it in a kli cheres. You want to put it in an earthenware vessel because even when you bury an earthenware vessel, it's going to stay longer like that. If it goes into the Talmud Chacham, where do you bury it? You bury it ideally along with the Talmud Chacham in his coffin. Afilu eno ela shon halachos v'lo Talmid Chacham. Even if he's only someone who's a rabbi who knows only the halachas. He's not someone who's Talmud Chacham. He knows all the Iyun Shiurim. He just knows the halachas. He knows Mishnah Berurah. That's Shemish Talmid Chachamim. He didn't learn Shemish Talmid Chachamim is to serve. It means to go to Shiurim by Talmid Chachamim and hear the svaras of Iyun. He just knows Bikiyas. He knows the Psak Halacha. Unless he's called Talmud Chacham for this, you can put it in his grave. Vav Einosin Miteva Kisei LaSefer Torah. You can't take the teva, which is the Aron, and use it for the Shulchan, right on the bima where you put the Sefer Torah. Because the Aron always has the Sefer Torah in it. The Shulchan only sometimes Sefer Torah, so you're demoting it to a lower kedusha. You could take a big table, a big Aron, and make it a smaller Aron. You can take a small table that you put the Sefer Torah on and make it into a bigger table and make it into a small table. You can't make it into a very small, which is like a stool or a footrest or something like that. Lakise, meaning just to place the Sefer Torah on, not where you're reading it, just to place it. Let's say you have two Sefer Torah, you don't have someone to hold it. You want to place it on a small table. You can't do that because that has less kedusha because you're not reading from that table. If you have a paroch which is big, you can cut it in half and make two parochas. Or you want to make it a mantle for Sefer Torah. To make it a mantle for a chumash. A chumash is, we said, basically is klaf and ashuris. It's like a Sefer Torah. It's just only one of the 5 chumashim by itself. So that has less kedusha. All these halachas seem to indicate, like I said yesterday, that the problem is moridin. But if you're splitting it in half, you're taking a parochas, or you're taking an aron, and you're cutting it in half, and you're making 2 aronas out of it, to go from the kedusha to osto kedusha, same kedusha, is not a problem. That's what I proved yesterday in Ian Talina. I believe that's psak halacha you see from halacha vav. Hago parochas anachnu told if they are aron, ein lo kedusha's aron. Our modern day parochas is attachment to the tashmish. Rak kedusha is beis haknesses. The reason is attachment because you have a door which closes the aron. So therefore, that's the tashmish. The aron itself is tashmish kedusha. You don't put it in a teva and leave the door open. In which case, the parochas is protecting it and giving privacy to the Sefer Torah because you have an enclosed teva, enclosed arons. Therefore, tashmish. However, it is something which makes the shul look nicer. So therefore, it's attachment to Beis HaKnesses. Beis HaKnesses has kedusha Sefer Torah because that's where you read the Sefer Torah. So it's a lower level, it's attachment to Beis HaKnesses. Similarly, if you had a parochas, and even if the parochas was covering the Sefer Torah, there was no door over there, but you have poles that are holding up the parochas, those are attachment. Right? Even if you have attachment or a Beis HaKnesses we're talking about, let's say a parochas where you have a door, you can't take it attachment to basic necessity, you can't take it and use that parochas or the poles of the parochas to make something. We commonly use a yad, which is like basically like a finger pointing when you read from the Sefer Torah. It used to be they didn't make it so nicely; they just made pieces of cloth or something like that to mark where the Sefer Torah was. That was a ganai. It wasn't done in a nice fashion, so therefore you're degrading it. However, the Mishnah Berurah points out that our yados that are very fancy, made out of silver, you would be able to use for those because that is an honorary thing. Zayin abima. Perish makom gavoa gon bima sheyosin lamelech ein bakdush aron el kedushas beis hakneses. The platform that you stand on, which is the bima, right? We have the table on the bima. Some places don't have a raised bima, but in this shul they do a raised bima. So that is kedushas beis hakneses. Attachment to beis hakneses. It makes the shul look nicer, but again, it's only a tashmish and tashmish because it holds up the shulchan, which holds up the Sefer Torah. Chet Aaron v'chol masha osim l'Sefer Torah moabo t'nai l'shamish bo shar tashmish afilu dechol. Again, all these things, a Tanai works, just like a Tanai works for a shul, a Tanai also works for Kedusha, for Sefer Torah, and Tashmisha Kedusha. If you made a Tanai in the beginning that you don't want to use it for Kedusha, even though I'm going to use it, I don't want it to have Kedusha, you can hold back that Kedusha, and I can use that for anything I want. Even if you don't make a Tanai, the Ramah says, our minhag is to be mekel and to get benefit. Kegon mitpacha shel svarim b'shulchan shebeis hakneses u'ilim shel Sefer Torah, the mantle of the Sefer Torah, the mitpacha shel svarim, the vimple, the table you put the Sefer Torah on. We can use it even for chulin things. Because of atam, mishum dekema shenagu kain v'ef shal azar. The minhag is to do this, and it's very hard not to use these things for tashmishei chol. Lei based in masta alei mikara. It's like Beis-Din of the city or of the shul already made a Tanai, even though they didn't make it. It's a Tanai, Libo Liv Kol Adam, we talk about it in the Gemara and the Dorim. If something which is obvious, even if I don't make a stipulation, it's obvious I wanted to make that stipulation. So therefore, it's like the Beis-Din of that shul made that stipulation. Afagav the Lohista, even though it didn't explicitly make a stipulation, it's like they made a stipulation. Tet. Hamisnadvim Sefer Torah, Manichem is Pachos Beis Hakneses, Motli Shamash Man Kol Sefer V'Sefer. So that's can't hook this shoe. People who donate vimples, in the Washington Heights, the Yaki communities, or they donate a mantle to the Sefer Torah, cover the Sefer Torah, and they don't specify for which one, right? So you can use it for anyone. Right? They draw up the Sefer Torah in their house. And their makdish, the mantle for that Sefer Torah, their makdish had 4 Sefer Torah, and then it was used for it. It wasn't just like Azmano. They actually used for that Sefer Torah. You can't use it for the Sefer Torah. There are some that are matir, and the reason they're matir is, like we said, which is the accepted halacha, I believe, that you could use it from equal kedusha, from one Sefer Torah to another Sefer Torah, it's serving the same purpose. It should be okay. That's the minhag, mishum leiv based in masta aleim lenokach, because it's like we made a tnai. Mishra notes the reason the Ramah added this in is because he holds the ikar halacha is that it's usher to go from one kedusha to another kedusha, to the same kedusha. Therefore, you need the addition of leiv based in masta aleim. I don't agree. I think the halacha should be even without leiv based in masta aleim. Except the halacha should be you can change to the same kedusha. Yod hanogim laniach. Because again, it's about disrespect here we're talking about. Apparently, we have crowns you put on the Sefer Torah. Apparently, there were certain kilos, certain congregations. You can take the crowns, they don't really fit so well on a person's head. They put it on a person's head when you read the Sefer Torah. Besima Torah, I guess it would be the Chassan Torah. We don't protest. It's not the right thing. The Alma Mochen. On a Chassan's head, not so important, but Chassan Torah, Chassan Bereishis, he's getting the Aliyah, so therefore it's really an honor for the Sefer Torah also, so it's okay. There's churches in the world, if you consider a church to be Avodah Zarah, and they give it candles over there, so it should be lit properly, or they used to give it when they didn't have electricity, so they gave it to Avodah Zarah. V'kiban shamshan nastan al machram liyisrael. Before the candles, ran out of wax, they didn't need it any longer, so they extinguished the candles. So they have the candles, They were used already, and he gave it to a Yisrael or sold it to Yisrael. Also, you know how to use it in a shul. Now, and the Ramah says, right? Because the halacha is that something which is used for avodah zara is normally not allowed to use by Yisrael. Here it's okay. The reason is because once he extinguished the candle, it's no longer a tashmish avodah zara. It was tashmish avodah zara while it's lit. Once he extinguishes it, he removes it from being a tashmish avodah zara. So you can use it. Nonetheless, it's considered mos, considered disgusting, repugnant. So therefore, because of kedusha's beis hakneses, you're supposed to treat it with kedusha. You're not supposed to use it in a shul. Mumar lavodas kachavim. Someone who's a mumar lavodas kachavim, meaning he went off the derech and he baptized himself for Christianity. Or a different religion, Buddhism. Shnasan Shaivu Nel Beis HaKnesses, and he had a yard site, so he gave some candles to the shul. Also, Liko, you're not allowed to light these candles in the shul. I'm Yardei Siman Kuf Lamitet Ve'Reish Nandala B'Dinim Elu. The reason is because just like in the Beis HaMikdash, you can't accept a korban from a mumar lavodas kachavim, or a mumas Shabbos for Hestia, or a mumar for a different aver lahachis, is rebelling against God. So here also, you can't accept a candle because it's like the Beis HaMikdash. Basically, that's like a mikdash ma'at. You can't accept a korban from a mumar. You also can't accept a gift to the Beis HaKnesses or a mumar. I will discuss this why I disagree with this halacha, and this will form the basis of Ian to lean on. Yud Beis Achbar Shenimsa B'Shemesh Beis HaKnesses Imhu Mos. Somehow you had oil to light the candles in the Beis HaKnesses, and somehow a mouse made it into the oil. If it's mos, I don't know how it's not mos. If it's in the oil. We had a huge vat of oil. It was a small mouse. Maybe that is not disgusting. It was disgusting. Usually it is. Also, Liko Beis HaKnesses, again, it's repugnant. It's disgusting. You have to treat Beis HaKnesses like Kedushas Torah with respect, and therefore you can't use the oil. Yud Gimel Ner Shel Beis HaKnesses Mutar Likros L'Oro. Nonetheless, unlike Neros Chanukah, we'll see that you're not allowed to even divrei Torah. You're not allowed to read next to the Neros Chanukah because you want people pursuing Nisa, you want them to recognize these are Neros Shal Mitzvah. Neros and Beis HaKnesses, we don't need to have Kera, there's no pursuing Nisa over there. They're made to honor the shul. So if you read Dvarim Shel Chol over there, you read the newspaper over there, you're belittling and you're denigrating the sanctity of these Neros and the Beis HaKnesses. However, if you read the Torah over there, you're not denigrating the kedusha of the Beis HaKnesses, so it's okay. Yudal Emad Likiner Shel Hedyo Miner Beis HaKnesses. Again, if you have candles, now we have electricity, we have chandeliers, we have like candles in the shul, you can't use that to light a cigarette or something like that. Again, it's degrading. Some say it's only when they're still lit. If you don't need them anymore, you're leaving a shul, so then they already lost their kedusha, just like the guy who was using avodah zara, he was machaber, then he lost their kedusha. Hagamiu lo nagli zar b'kach ma'alikim behen ner shehul sarach gadol. Or mekel, if it's a sarach gadol, even though it's a sarach chol, I guess a cigarette is not a sarach gadol. If it's sarach gadol, maybe electricity in the city went out, then you're allowed to use it. Efshar gamkein shadas beis haknes ma'aseh b'kach. Again, we have this idea that under certain circumstances, it's like ilu we made it tonight that we're only going to use it for kiddush purposes under certain circumstances, and when it's a sarach gadol, we have in mind to use it for even sarach hedya. It's all because of this reasoning. Tedvav b'nei krach shekanu sefer Torah. People in a big city, Manhattan, Yerushalayim, they bought a sefer Torah. And they made it tonight. They all paid a lot of money. There were only 10 people. They paid $30,000 to Torah, $50,000 to Torah. So 10 people, $50,000 to Torah. They each paid $5,000. If one of them is leaving, he's moving to America. He's moving from Yerushalayim to Manhattan. Moving Manhattan to Yerushalayim. He wants to get paid back. So the Hukru has Sfarim. Sefer Torahs are now going for $100,000. He demands, I have 1/10. I want 10,000. Pay me off $10,000. You only give him what he gave originally, the $5,000, even though now his portion is worth $10,000. Because normally with assumed, even though you didn't make rules. Now, if you made a stipulation, I think it would be different. Here, you didn't make a stipulation, so we assume people, when they give a Sefer Torah, they do it with an divas, they do it with a full heart, and they meant only to recoup what they paid for, the amount they paid for, not the percentage that they paid for. That's the conclusion of today's share. Stay tuned for Ian to lean on it. We talk more about in what regard do we assume a Beis HaKnesses or Beis Medrash is called a Mikdash Ma'at? We always say they're called a Mikdash Ma'at. Is that 100% true? I will tell you what my opinion is. Ian to lean on coming up next.